Hello future tech leaders, I am Sindhuja. Based on my own experience, I know that learning the right skills can shape our future. What if I say learning was as thrilled as the tech world itself? There we go. A cloud foundation, that's exactly what you will experience. From day one, you will be immersed in the interactive sessions and expert-led courses that covers most of the widely used technologies in the zone of data science to cloud computing, which brings more light to the life of a techie. I'm so excited to help you and unlock the true potential of a technology. Well, then why to wait? Let's see what it unfolds.
Let's discuss about the other key important, that is access.log. Then we have request.log and then this audit.log. These three are pretty important. To do any security check and to do any performance check, like if you want. The performance is not good and you wanted to see which all pages are consuming. How much time plus any security related and it's 30 later. That will give you the access, which instance, at which time and from where all those also information can be accessed through access, audit and request log. Let's firstly discuss about the performance. Let's say that you get a scenario that some of the pages are consuming a lot of time and you are getting regular spikes because of those pages. Now, to know which all pages are causing the performance issue of hampering the performance is the first thing that you will do is you will go inside that request.log. Remember, request.log gives you the information about the performance. It's not that. It will say the performance is good or not, but it gives you the time taken by each request to serve a page. Any page that is requested will be served and the information for that will be logged inside the request.log. Here, if you see that there are many requests, many requests, like you can see, and here it says this is the time, date and time, and this instance, the bracket is pretty important and helps you identify each and everything. This is my thread ID. My thread is 10882. What you best do is you double click this. Here you can see this is the request for this and this is the response. What it said is because through arrow only it is indicated. It says when the request is made, it was a get type of request and the request was made to this URL and it was then served to us. The important thing is that I match the thread ID. Here in the thread ID, I said it is returned back with a 200 score and the response type is this. And the important thing is how much time it took to solve that request. Performance related things. Any performance which page consumes how much time. Here you can give the request and the response like a this is the req and this is the response. And when the response came, it was over 200. That's pretty good because you get a 200 and it took 3 seconds to return the response. Sorry, one more time again. And that thing in the bracket, what was that? That is thread ID. Every request that comes would have a thread number. You go inside some hospital or somewhere, you get a token, ID. Similarly, when a request comes, it gets a thread ID that it is being given a thread to execute or to run on our server. Now, every thread that will get started would have a unique ID. This is the thread ID to know what was the request and what was the response. Here the request was made and here the response is returned with 200 and all that. You can ask questions if you have any. This was my request. Dot block, which helps you identify the performance. The next is the order. Order is empty. That's pretty strange. I will check why is it empty. Let's firstly discuss about this. We have the access.log. If I open the access.log, it gives you the information about the end user who is accessing the page and whether it's a security constraint. Plus, is it necessary, like to come on even? Sorry, this was request.log and then inside the access.log, from which user the request is coming, and it gives all the information about what time the request is being made and the user type, the date time, the IP days of the end user. Everything is being logged inside with respect to end user. Like if you have to see that some malicious user is trying to access your website. You wanted to know the IP and the details of that user, that all those days would be logged in the access log. You can see the IP. Since I am using that, is I just giving localhost. I always log in with admin, and this is the date when I perform some 23rd May end. Like I made a GET request. All these things get logged over here. Everything get logged over here. This is my access.log. If you wanted to know which user performed which operation on like which path, all those things can be all the security checks can be done from here. Any malicious user is hitting your site, that you can get to know from access.log. We discussed about access request, and there was one another. These two. System error. See when these two are used when your server is starting up and stopping down. When your server is starting up at any error, then it will go. Then it will be logged with the std error. Std error should always be empty during your startup. If it's full, if it is filled, then it is. Then there is some issue. Here you can see why is it. My system error has some information because it says insufficient heap memory and also available memory below specified limit and low memory action. That is why to give this warning. There are logs that get printed in system error and rest all the basic informational log. Like here I started my AEM instance, and all these logs, informational logs that get printed in the command, also get logged inside system output log. System output log has all the basic logs when a server gets started. All those logs are stored inside system log plus. System error has all the error. Any error during startup, all those logs get printed over here. Now, this was the basic information. The other important thing is here. You can see like access.log has. This was published. Why we are? Let's go and see the author one. Here I am inside the author. If I go inside the access, this is the order. History.log. This history is also pretty important. History log actually tells which user performed what type of operation and on which page. Here you can see, since I logged in as the admin and I performed view operation on this particular page at this time. Now let me do one thing. Let me create a new page by the name new test page. That information will also be logged over here. If I go to this, and if I create a new page over here, is that the sample project is in, and let me delete this. This experience fragment page. Let me delete this page. If I will delete this, the same information get logged inside the history.log. If I open this, you will see yes. Here you can see this information gets logged over here. I deleted this thing. That is why. If I make any changes like, let me just create a new page over here. Let me name it as new test page. That information will also get logged over here. New test page. Let me just create it. Open it. And if I open my page, you can see it's reloading and you can see I edited. And this is the page and it gave me all the information. Someone accidentally delete or modify anything and you want to backtrack. The best is that you can go inside the history.log to find any malicious user activities. You can go inside access.log for performance perspective. You can go inside request.log plus system error and system. Any questions, any queries on this of how you would find which particular type of log files would have which particular type of information? If say, I want to figure out that who's activated or deactivated to some of the pages, those are operational related. Those information will go inside error log. And it will give the user as the username. Who did what? What you said, come again. I mean in this one, it would give us the username as well. Like who did what? Like who deactivated the page. That information, either you get it from access.log or history.log. If you want to get the information, they are related to which user performed which type of work that can be seen from history. And if you want to see more insight, detail like which user from which IP performed action, on which page, and all those things like from where the request came, all those things can be seen over here. Access dot. Like if I open this access.log, you would see a lot of information. Let me just open this again. Access dot. Here you can see that this is the user and main at this particular the request came. It was a GET request to this URL and it was an HTTP request. The response was 200. I don't know what is this, 103, and the request was made over here. From which browser the request was made. The Windows, everything get logged over here. Any business activity you want to find out from any script or any, you can find it from the access.log. History logs tells you what action is being performed on the content by which particular user. Like someone accidentally deleted any page or modified any content and you wanted to find out who was that user who performed the modification, then use history.log. Access.log is for malicious activity. Also, if I go inside my system console, config manager, configuration manager, if you remember not system console, and here you can see below link. You have if link, that is log support. Here you can go inside the logs port and here also you can see all the logs. Again, you can see the error log audit, log request, log access. All the logs you can see over here. Let me open the history logs. If I open this, you can see the logs that were there inside the notepad are also printed over here. These 3 lines are also over here. But it is not a good way to see or to analyze the log by going over here, because it will create the load on your AEM server only. Better is that you see the logs from the Expect Manager logs and then which type of log file you want to see. In the side, the CSS folder again, and then it's under logs. You have all the necessary logs, and there is a backup of each and every log that is being kept for the last, I think, 7 days. 6, 7. That also is a configuration that we can update on flight. If you want to change like this, the old log file name and how long you want to keep this file, these are all configured. Questions, doubts? Time is over. Mainly from application perspective, how your application is running. Any error in the application, it's of course error log. Performance related, it's request log. Any access related, which user performed which operation or which type of node, and its ordered log. And of course, ordered history access, and then requested error and state system output. Error and system output. Both of these also when an error occurs during startup of server and the normal log that gets printed during the game start. One thing I would tell you today. Now see error log contains all your application specific log plus all the AEM logic or AEM application related log. Everything application related, whether it's your or whether the Adobe AEM application, all those logs that are printed inside. Error log. Now consider a situation when you are working on a complex requirement which has some complex Java file to be written, and you are working on that and then you deploy. Then you plan to deploy it, but all your data application logs would also be printed inside this error log only. It becomes sometimes very difficult to find out your specific log. What you can do is AEM also provide a functionality where you can create your custom log file. We're using that custom log file. All the logs specific to your application only, but I'm saying only related to your application only, will be logged inside that custom log. That makes nothing easier for the developer to analyze the log because the logs will not contain any other information except your logs. Let me show you how you create the custom log file. If I go inside the System Console Config Manager, if you're working on a complex requirement, all the logs need to get logged inside that file. It becomes easy to identify. If I go and search for logging logger configuration, here you can see all the configuration for all the type of log files. These are all the configuration, like it says logger access, log order, audit log, logger error. What all are the error files that are being shown over here is that the log files are actually configured over here. Got my point? Now, if you wanted to create your custom log, and let's say what is your custom files. Your custom files are stored below the form sample code because you created all your Java files below this folder. Am I right? What we will do is we will go inside the Apache link logging logger configuration. Click on this class and here you can see it gives us this dialog. It says what type of logs will get printed, weather information, weather debug, and what type of logs. I said debug, and here you can give the name of your log file. I said inside the log, it's sample minus carry log. I said I will tell you about this log level. What is the purpose of this? But here inside the log file, we set the name of the file wherever logs will be printed or will be imported. And also this and this logger folder. This logger folder actually itself on which package or for which files you are log should get printed inside the custom log. This custom log would only print the Java files which will be presented below this package. What is our package? Our package is, as we know, all of our Java files are stored below the COM sample core. This is a package where below which all of our Java files are stored. In the logger, I will provide my package name and all the Java files below. This will be stored over inside this sample error log. If I save it, see what name I gave is sample error log. Now, if you will see inside the logs, there is no such file sample. But I will save it the time. I will save it. And you can see in a minute, you can see the sample error gets created. See the time I save it. The sample error gets created and the size is 0. Now all custom logs, any custom logs. How will you print the custom logs there? Like logging. Let me just show it to you. Why do I write it? Let me just copy it from somewhere. Here I have the sample configuration. If I go over here inside over here, but let me go inside some filter. This is our log filter. Just a minute. Let me just stop it from here. Inside the scheduler. Let me just scroll. Here we created the object of our logger. The same is what we are going to create over in our NU4 file. Like, let me create it inside the service. Here, this is my service. And I created the object of my logger over here. And now how you can print the log is by different. AEA makes the use of SLF4G library to print the logs. You can print either info log, either warning debug, or then there is info warning debug. There's one more I will tell you. Here, if I will show it to you now, like here, if I go inside this, get full name or get the URL, what I will do is, I will use the logger. Here you can see debug. Either you can print debug, you can print error type of log, you can print info type of log or trace, also trace and warnings. If I wanted to print debug log, if you remember, the log file that we created what was the name? Logging logger. Over here, we created this as our custom log and what we did is we gave the log level as debug. Here, what I'm saying is since the level is debug, it means our Java file would have If any debug load, that will be printed, and info warning error. All these type of logs till debug will be printed because it's a log level. Since it's a log level, and if I selected it as debug, then all the debug informational error and warning message will be printed and not trace, because then at the log level is information. Then the logs of type information, warning and error only will be printed. If I use this as debug, and here in my code, if I say logger debug and whatever, you want it to stay inside the path of get user details. Similarly, let's print the other ones as well. What type of logs are there here? If we can see what is debug, then we have info warning error. Let's see. Let me make it a trace. Trace debug, then info, then warning. And what was the last one? It was the last one error. This way you can use different log levels to print different type of log. The log level has its purpose, like debug info. Warning error message will also print it inside it. Try catch exception block. If some exception opens, then only you will use that. Trace this logger error. Now if I will deploy this code, it's debug, it's trace. Let's say inside trace it's debug, it's info. Inside info, inside warning, inside warning, inside error, inside error. And now let's do it. What I did is I created this custom log file that all my application specific. How did I made it as application specific? By using this logger property. Are you able to follow me, or I'm going a bit fast? Note: to print your logs files related to your custom application. You use this backend name inside the logger property. And if you give the name of our custom file, and then this is a log level which says, but all type of logs that you want to print inside your log file. And this is how we print or we display logs. Whatever like here, debug will be used in case. If you want to debug, application error will be used. Of course, inside the catch, block warning will be used. Like basically is see, you can use any type of log at any place, but there is a proper place to use a particular type of log level. Like if you use the logger.error inside any simple startup method, of course it doesn't make any sense. It will give wrong information to some other developer who will be reviewing the logs. Similarly, info log will be print like at normal when method start and method ends. Debug logs are being used when you want to debug some application. If application is failing and you want it to debug, where exactly is it failing? Always on prod distance. It is being said that you set your log level to info. And no above it and not above it, because if you send the info log level, then all the info and warning and error logs are printed, but not bug and trace. On prod, always remember you should set your log level as info. Our code, I think it's built. Let's just see what was the name of our method. We'll get URL details. Let me just refresh my this. Where is my page? This page. If I will refresh this page, just refresh. Of course, I know it has this component which is calling my model, and my model is calling my service where my logs are getting printed. If I open the logs and it is still here you can see the sample and it has some text because it has some size. Here, let's see if these errors are being printed now. Since my log level, what is my log level? Log level was debug. This log should not be printed, but this trace one should not be printed, but all these four should be printed. Do you agree with me? If I copy this and search it inside the log file, you can see it's over here. It's over here. Then the next one. This was debug of user details. Let me just copy this. This debug, this is the info, this is the warning, but there is no trace. And also you can see this type is debug. The type is info over here. The type is warning. And now see at runtime sometime on prod if you are getting some error, and on prod we always know that the log level should be information. But if you wanted to see other type of logs as well, just at that time just change the log level to some other and save. And immediately you would be able to see your trace logs as well. Like if I do this and if I go to the bottom, let me just hide this. I think I have to refresh it. I missed refresh. Let me just open and close my dialog. Hide this. Here you can see the trace logs have also been printed because I changed my log level. By setting the suitable log level, those and the logs below that will be printed. Logging log. Here I have this, and what I did is I made my custom error log my log file sample error. And what I said is that all the Java files below this package, the logs for all those files, should get printed inside my disk for developer. It becomes easy that it will not go inside the error log, but it will come separately inside this log file. It becomes easy for the developer to check the logs, and the logs doesn't get mixed with the other functionality logs. And how would you use logs in your code? Just use the Sulfur-J library, the one that we use over here. If you see over here, it is in Sulfur-J. Just create the instance, this variable, and use the different type of logs methods, whether trace, debug, info, warning, error. Error, of course, we use instead the catch. Warning is being used. See warning. When do you think warning will be used? Warning will be used when some API has been deprecated and you know that the API is deprecated. Like your custom code is deprecated or is like out of scope code, but you do not want to delete it. You can print a logger warning. When some other developer will come and see this type of log warning log in the logs, they will be able to know that as of now but I have to upgrade this code because this is a warning. Because there's a warning and anytime in the future, it can get converted into error. But this can cause issues. Infolog is simple, like starting of the method, ending some basic information like infolog. Debug, basically, is printed at a lot of places to debug where if your application is failing, maybe your best is you put the debug logs at multiple locations and that way you can get to know what is the value coming. And on production, we always set the log level as info and not debug because we use a lot of debug logs inside of our code. Only in case if something is breaking in the middle of production, then just quietly change the log level to debug. Because if you change always set the log level to debug that the whole lot of logs will be printed on the production server. It will reduce the size or it will take a lot of size on your production server machine. Always keep the size. To keep the sizes less, use the log level as info. We discussed about, firstly, the different type of log files, the error log file, the history log, audit log, and request log, and system output and system error. What is the purpose of those, under which circumstance we should use which one? Now, the most important one was the error one because all the application related logs that. But if you want your application, your specific application should get written in a separate log file. Create the custom logging logger configuration. Any questions, any doubts? I think it's enough for today. One last thing which I wanted to tell you was this a very basic thing. If your application is failing somewhere, your code is failing. The first thing that you should do is you should go inside System Console Bundles and there you should see that all your bundles should be active state. You can see one bundle is in installed state. That means that bundle would not be working and would have some issue. Here you can see this a modernized tool. Although it is an out-of-box or you can say some AEM utility, it is an installed state, but it means that the functionality that this AEM modernized tool provides will not be working on your current instance. One thing, you have to make sure that your bundles, your custom bundles and your out-of-work bundle, like your custom bundle, was the sample one. Here, the sample bundle should always be in active state. If it's not an active state, it means it is not working and there is some issue. The second important thing is if you go inside the configuration, here you have the third, this component, the second option. It gives you an information about all your services that you have created and tells you if your services are in active state or not. Like we created our sample service. The sample service would be listed over here. And if I show you sample service, and all the out-of-book service are listed over here. And always remember that your service again should be in active state. If it is not an active state, it means there is some issue like, hey, you can see some out-of-book service. It's in satisfied state. If it's in satisfied or unsatisfied state, it means your service is not working. Somewhere, if you feel that your code is not working mainly in your code, it is your service, then go inside the system go solve components, and here see if your service is in active state or not. And also, if it is not in active state, then you can click over there and you can get more information why it is not inactive. Here you can get some more information that activation has been delayed and it's enabled. Like you can. Maybe you can get some more information from here. And still, if you're not able to get it, then what you can do is you can try to start it. Like here it is unsatisfied, or you can try to start it. It is in the background is getting started and in the error log see, because it is an out-of-box job provided. All the logs related to this will be printed inside error log. If you want to print this, the logs for this in a separate log file, just copy this packet name like this packet name and create a separate error. Custom log files in the logging log utility. Here you can at least go is that the error logs and try to see what exactly is breaking and why this service is not getting started. One more thing. Most of the time this also tends to be the issue is that you always after your deployment when your multiple modules gets deployed is you always make sure you check after deployment that all your bundles like hey your bundles get created in the categories form like here my one is inside the com.sample. Always make sure that all your bundles should be in installed state. Like if I click over here, it says reinstall. Like here, it says like here you can see it doesn't share installed state. If some is not an installed state, then it means that there is some issue and that things will not be working properly. And finally, do not forget to like, share and subscribe to our channel.